Hello, everyone. This is the second episode of Astro South. My name is Christopher Peace, and
Hello, I am Renee Umbaba.
yes, and we are here to talk about Lovecraft Country, episodes 4 through 6.
Mhm.
Yes, 4 through 6. Because we talked about 1 through 3 already, but they overlap. But I'm pretty excited about the sixth episode, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, only because of everything that happened. But yeah, it just really seems like Atticus is. I mean, he's important, but it still seems like, these
Expensive.
women, not these women like that, but, the women are coming into themselves in powerful ways, while Atticus is really just used as a toy, like as kind of this, prop to get to other places,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
I mean,
Um,
by everybody there, I mean, intentionally and unintentionally.
right, right. Especially since Jaya, Jaya, um,
Yeah.
never had a vision like that before until she was. I mean, she wasn't like sucking old Atticus like that, but the thing inside of her that she can't control came out. Um, and she just never had a vision like that. So I feel like Atticus still makes pathways open in ways, but it's just a different experience for the women, and the women are really leading. I feel like the weight of the narrativities of these episodes, but also the creativity and the spirituality. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like they definitely carry a lot of weight because they do, like, to me, experience the most violence, the
Hmm.
absolute most violence in this show. And I guess to counterpoint that, they do experience the most revelations, the most power, the most ability to kind of exist in various worlds and various truths and kind of really encapsulate all of their identities in a way that is the healthiest for the storytelling, not for them
Hmm.
or for the people around them always. But it's very, very, very interesting to see like Atticus, as you said, like a conduit, really honestly. And that could just be because of his bloodline. And that's really just his purpose in life is to be that person.
Hmm.
Which is something that I did not think about before because I just feel
Right.
like not that Atticus is weak, but we know that he is. I mean, we didn't come into this expecting him to be perfect.
Hmm.
I mean,
For sure.
at least at base, he was going to be misogynistic.
Right.
So I
It's
already know.
embedded.
I
And
mean, we just know. So to see him, be a murderer and kind of believe in this American dream in a way and romanticize various women around the world.
right, right.
I mean, it's not
It really does, like, now that you lean into that, it really does. I'm reminded of the first episode where he's coming in on like this bus, at least. So like already I'm connecting him to kind of like, migration or movement, or ways being forged forward, and connections being made in that way. But still, like I'm saying, like we said, I feel like you just said, the women are really carrying spirituality. They're carrying, the women, and Yahima, who's two spirited, is really carrying spirituality in ways that isn't happening for the men. It feels like the men are just reactionary
Mhm.
to a lot of things, whereas the women are really the ones trying to heal generational trauma,
Right.
or kind of like past traumas in that way. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that the men don't have like we don't see their power kind of manifest in the same way we see the women's power
Mm,
manifest because it's like, of course, if you're thinking about traditional religions, it never would exist like this in such a strong binary. But I guess if you talk about European influence, you talk about American imperialism, of course, it would kind of look like this kind of very gender binary dynamic of who gets power and who gets to express that power and who doesn't get to express that power or access to what that looks like. Um,
Mhm.
but it's just very powerful for me to remember again, like whenever you're talking about like changing somebody's religion or converting somebody, it's always starts with women first. You always go to the women first because women literally carry the culture. Because not only are they giving birth, they're nurturing the children, they're kind of interacting with the beginnings of the new generation in a very, very intimate space.
Mhm.
Most traditional practices, specifically in Africa, there's some years that are spent where the mother and the child are connecting.
Mhm.
And when you're talking about like really converting, like how do we switch religions? How do we change people's, I guess, ideas about access to power? It really starts with how do we impact women because women carry so much power.
Right. That's so true. And I feel like that's kind of foreshadowed in the fourth episode a little bit with that clip with Hippolyta. Um, and she is naming, or she talks about how she named, is it
Mhm.
Hera's chariot,
Yeah.
the comet Hera's chariot, which in the book she names Pluto, or is it something about Pluto? I don't know about names Pluto, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, she names it, but it's
Okay.
stolen from her. Oh, it's alluded to the fact that she didn't get credit for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I feel like that is not a sneak peek, but integrated part on how women, the feminine divine is naming these things. That it counters, not kind of, but it really does counter
The biblical,
Samuel.
yeah.
Right. It does count for Samuel and his Adam narrative and how he wants to, penetrate the garden again and how he wants to be a co-creator or co-namer of the universe, whereas Hippolyta is already naming these things. And especially with the book saying that she named Pluto being the planet of drastic deep transformation. So Pluto really being the outskirts of our universe of what we can know and see. So it's really that dichotomy of knowing and unknowing
Mhm.
that's so transformative, that's so drastic that Pluto brings. And I feel like that's what the energy of all of these women engaging in spirituality in various ways. Because I even feel like in episode 6 is super spiritual, especially with the multi-tailed fox. But yeah, I feel like the power to name comes up a lot, and it's connected to how one carries identity, and how they interact with other people throughout the narratives, of course.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see um to see this transfer like literal transformation. So we've got Ruby's like very, very physical,
Oh
very
yeah.
gruesome transformation. Then you've got Jian, very, 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 very physical, but like locked in her transformation.
Mhm.
And it's just like the privilege, I mean, privilege, who knows, of Ruby's that she can kind of exist outside of that. But honestly, can she really? Because she's still a black woman and
Right.
that doesn't give her much access to anything.
Mhm.
And there's Gian, who is like literally trapped inside of this body, trapped inside of somebody else's identity, trapped inside her mother's look at her,
Mhm.
what she
Mhm.
can be, trapped inside of what the Mudang has, said over her life. So it's very, very interesting to see that these are very, very dramatic transformations that every all the women have to go through, even Christina
Mhm.
and Letty. But it's like Gion's transformation is just so locked in, and I guess they're trying to make that the cultural distinction because
Mhm.
her mother is there, whereas Ruby and Letty's mother is not there. So the connection to culture is very strict, very strong, and she
Mhm.
really cannot escape it. So,
Right.
but
For sure. Go ahead.
somebody was saying, I mean, a critic. we're saying that basically the view that we're seeing in this sixth episode is very Americanized view of Korean culture. So
Hmm.
there's that.
Yeah, I didn't even. Well, I mean, I didn't even pick up on that, but obviously, it's for an American audience in
Right.
that way.
By
Um,
people.
mhm. Why? I mean, I guess, do you know some reasons why it was Americanized, or one of the main reasons?
She didn't go into too much detail about why it was Americanized, but what I can imagine is that this girl
Or
falls in love with a soldier. Hey,
right, right, right,
she
right.
seems very oppressed by her mother.
Hmm.
The aspect of spirituality is American in sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like you can't really capture, not that you can't, I'm very positive you can capture the ideas of the mythology and how strict the religion it really has to be. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm sure that that's very Americanized. The films, love with American culture is very Americanized. The
Hmm.
nursing practices, I'm very sure is very Americanized. Yeah, so it's a lot of things. Um, colors, the relationship to colors, probably very Americanized
Yeah.
because
I mean, I don't know how to really word this, but I was thinking about. I mean, I guess we're just talking about the sixth episode for right now, at least. But I was thinking about how, like, um, the mother was put in a position, like the way that she was painted was, like we were against her, I guess. Like, obviously, right, for obvious reasons, but she was definitely put in a position to like hate the thing that she birthed, or kind of like she wanted her daughter back, and she called the spirit forward to possess her daughter
right.
because she was being raped by which I'm assuming is just like her husband. Her daughter was being raped by her husband, but I don't know if that was the daughter's father.
No, it was the stepfather.
It was definitely the stepfather. So I definitely feel like there's this narrative where, for one thing, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about Gnosticism in particular, where this narrative of kind of like the Gaia, who is Mother Earth, was separate from God, and she birthed the demiurge, which is basically the god that created the material world. So we're trapped in this material world. The demiurge can be viewed as evil. So this evil thing is coming from the mother. Now, I just connected those two stories together because I feel like there's this kind of like theme that there's a birthing, but what you've birthed has been, you can't protect it
Yeah.
uh, from the patriarchy. So you have to call in this demon, or the spirit, not necessarily demon, I guess, but and then there's no control over it. It's chaotic. It's like the watery depths, right, of kind of like the what is pinned to be the feminine divine sometimes. But I was kind of thinking about that and tried to go deeper into that, but I'll definitely have to think about it a little more. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that that's also another Americanization where it's like a demon when it's really just
Right.
probably a spirit. And it's, from what I read, it seemed like a person, a spirit that was, neither good nor bad, that helps people along. I know that was pinpointed a lot in what I read.
Right.
Like very helpful to people and, gets people, what they need or whatever. But
Mhm.
for the film, she is very, she's supposed to be helpful to her mother, or who the person who has brought her into this world again. And she decides, say, hey, I'm not doing this no more. I don't want to be changed. I don't want to be different.
Mhm.
And on the scale, like, it's just like, okay, I mean, the mother has like an extreme love and an extreme guilt, but I feel like that extreme love has cost her so much. It's like it really has cost her so much because she wants to have better, we imagine, for her child. So she's like, okay, if I get married to this man, it's gonna bring us all better. right? And then it like does not work out that way. It's he specifically targeted them because of the family dynamic, or because what the mother needed. And then
Mhm.
like he destroys the daughter, I'm sure, like literally and physically and mentally just destroys her by continuously raping her over again. And the mother's just like, well, um, somebody gotta stop him. What were you doing?
Right.
No, it's not that simple. I know it's not that
Right,
simple.
right, right.
There, because if she would have killed him, of course she could have had, different repercussions or whatever. Who knows
Hmm.
what happened in that culture? I know a lot of cultures, if your husband end up dead, something is wrong. Even in the South, if your husband dies,
Right.
something wrong with you. It's not the husband, it's not the illness that he had, the fact that he wasn't taking care of himself, or he was doing what it's you. Like something is wrong with you. So she probably couldn't do too much, but it's just like you won't. She puts a lot of weight on her daughter to just like fix everything. Like you have to
Right. She
fix this,
does.
take this man out, get 100
Mhm.
men to come take out.
Right, right.
It's never gonna be enough. That's why I feel like the Wudang, to some extent, it's like you calling this woman mother. You're too worried about the earthly things. Like
Right, right.
you're worried about this
Mhm.
because it's never gonna be enough for you to do
99 and a half won't do.
what you want to do. Because they were
Right. But yeah, like the Mudong said at the end that the same reason you're worried about Atticus's death is the same reason you love your mother or something. So that was pretty, I guess, an interesting connection because she's still caught up, or the Mudong was saying that Jaeyoung was caught up in the worldly things, where I guess Kumiho, the Kumiho, is trying to be more spiritual or something, because she says, the Mudong says at the end that Jaya isn't as close to death that she's going to be, that she's going to see countless deaths. And that was the last the last line is just hanging, leaves us kind of hanging. Oh, you're going to see countless deaths in your life. And I don't know if that's just connected to the multiplicity of the spirit that's within her. Um, but I don't know, like, if can she eat another man and just get rid of the spirit, like, after and not see countless deaths? Or, and even so, like, I know her mother couldn't kill um her husband probably, but still, like, what's happening with Jaya? She done killed 99 men. Like, is there no suspicion around the men going into her house and like
come
blood on?
in. We do not see them come out.
Right, like, is there no suspicion at all about she's just, what is it, the speed dating place, trying to pick up some meat.
But I feel like she's very strategic in people that she chooses. She chooses people that's not gonna be missed.
Right, right, right. I
Yeah,
guess that's why she goes.
yeah. Nobody cares because she does choose people that's not gonna be missed.
Right,
And I
but
feel
she thinks she can. I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say she thinks she could control the Kumiho,
Mhm.
but still, when she's making love to Atticus, I guess the Camille wanted a piece as well. Like, I don't blame the Camille.
Have you seen him?
Right. Again, we see Atticus's ass yet again.
Yeah,
Um,
lucky.
yes, we just need to make a whole episode on that.
But yeah.
Right. Your sister called him ugly cute, which I was offended but agreed to.
And we
But we were talking again about his buns.
because he's
Yeah,
awful.
it's it's
Yeah, I
great.
think that like the Camille thing is just like, I mean, my imagination, it's just like trying to call her to a higher purpose and a higher goal. I feel like her mother, like really, and to some extent, the Mudon try to manipulate what the power is for, because the Camille power it could be for saving women, like her
Right.
mother. Like literally, she could have come into this world to save women from abusive men.
For sure. For
And
sure.
I feel like she gives her this decree that because she gives her this decree that you're going to see even more deaths and even get closer to the darkness. Because if to be a spiritual worker, you have to be close to the darkness. You have to know what it looks like. You have to know. You have to have like a very stone face. Like it's some because when you were talking about it, it just made me think about my moon in Capricorn and just like what people have I've heard about my moon in Capricorn from a specific person was that you have a moon in Capricorn because you cannot feel all the time because people are going to be telling you stuff, you're going to experience things, you're going to interact with people that requires you to be cold in the face because you literally cannot react all the time. So I feel like the Kamiho spirit is trying to get her to this place where you can't be on this earthly plane. Unfortunately, you came here for a different reason, and whatever that reason is going to be revealed to you. And that's just kind of my hope that that's what it's going to kind of turn out to be, because whatever, you have to connect people to a higher spiritual plane, and it's just not, this plane is just not enough. And
Mhm.
loving Atticus is just not enough because you see how trifling he is. He not here with you. He's here, and you up here, you have a much higher spiritual calling, and he just not ready because when
Mhm.
he gets scared like the other men.
Mhm. For sure. And I definitely think that reading a bit about the Kamiho, it being shapeshifters, I'm still trying to understand it, or because I feel like it eats the livers and hearts of men in particular. So I feel like the head exploding and all that stuff is a lot of so just kind of like Hollywood
Right.
drama. And even I feel like maybe because there's this one source saying that the Kamiho, there's really no past narratives about the Kamiho being clairvoyant or seeing things in the future like it happened. So I don't know if that was a Hollywood thing, or maybe it was just the Kamiho connecting to what's already a part of Jaya. Like she's still there somehow. I don't know how exactly the Kamiho is eating her insides or being her insides or transforming into her. I don't know the logistics of that, but I definitely think that she's connecting to the monster on the inside, which is I feel like a up and coming theme is to connect to the darkness or the monster or the death that she has to go through and experience and see um, on the inside for sure.
'Cause I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out, so if Gian like comes back, what's she gonna be like? What, 12?
Right. Or
21 or something? So
right.
what development do you want her to be at? Like, because
Mhm.
for the mother, it's like, what do you really want? Because
Mhm.
you talking about you want a child that's dead. If
Right.
dead by the Kumiho's hand or not, she's dead.
Mhm.
Like, so whether you called this spirit, she was already dead when that man first interacted with her in a way that was inappropriate for a
Right.
father and daughter. So she had already died. So it was like, what do you want? Because that girl is dead. She's gone. So we just, I feel like the end in the episode is just like there's some kind of peace or reconciliation because she'll never come back.
Mhm.
She sings the song that they used to sing. That's gonna remind her of that man.
Right.
What do you really want?
Right. Yeah, I definitely feel like even if she does come back, she'll definitely changed in drastic ways that wouldn't even be recognizable to something you've had in the past. So yeah, she's definitely a changed spirit for sure. Um, but yeah,
Miss Mama, Mama, you just gotta
and
let
it's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the mom just gotta let it go. But I understand. I understand.
It's interesting though. Like, I guess this takes place in the fall of 1949, and then 1950, which is kind of like the second piece of the narrative for episode 6. Um, and Atticus is still a virgin, not still a virgin, but Atticus mentions that he's a virgin. So I feel like that element is popping up too because that happened with Letty. So now Atticus loses his virginity to this monster, basically. Um,
Like Lady
he
did.
loses it quickly.
30 seconds later.
Right, literally 30 movie seconds. No. But I just think that part is interesting. That why I guess why do we have to make it? Why is that even mentioned?
Yeah.
Virginity even mentioned, and why is it a part of the plot?
Mhm.
Why do we have to present these, or why does the director present these characters, or the writers present these characters in ways that they have to have a clean slate before they engage, with
Yeah.
something, is that a purpose, is that for a purpose, because it could be for a purpose, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It could be for a greater purpose.
Hmm.
Think about like, because it's like, of course, we'll be thinking about virginity, purity, right?
Hmm.
To an extent there is like, I guess they're trying to balance what the dark and the light looks like in the person, and somehow sex is connected to that. Like sex brings the less light into your body, so it's like this like even with Gian, it's like this sex brings this revelation of whatever is good and bad in the world and stuff like that. So it's just like balancing out what the realities of good and bad look like. Because for Letty specifically, I mean, they think she a hoe. That's what they've been talking about her. So that's why he just takes her to the bathroom and just has sex with her because she's
Hmm.
that she, been getting it since high school or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know, something about reputation, actions, goodness, badness,
Hmm.
purity versus the reality of not purity.
Right.
That's what it looks like in my mind. I don't know how it connects.
Right. And I definitely think, to go back to how this whole engagement with Korea is very Americanized. The narrative of this episode really depends on Gia's Americanness, especially with the movies, how she's in love with this particular character that's speaking English from America, I'm assuming, um, and how like, even I feel like even with that kind of like her Americanness, her being other, kind of sexualizes her, especially, kind of toward the beginning, like, when the guy's bringing her to the tent so they can watch the movie, and the other soldiers are kind of like hitting on her, saying he's about to do something. And so I feel like, because of her proximity to Americanness or to whiteness, she's even sexualized more, just like Letty is sexualized with her light skinnedness and proximity to whiteness. So, yeah, so it's pretty interesting.
It was so interesting to see this obsession with whiteness again.
Again, yet
Again.
again.
I'm just like, golly, because you think about like you hear that media is like the biggest exporter of the United States. We put culture on people through film like nobody else in this world, and it's something that we've
Right.
been doing for very, very long periods of time. And
Mhm.
to see, I feel like we parade. So these are two different points that I'm going to make. Romance
Mhm.
is violent. And that's what that this episode clearly shows that romance is violent. It's just
Mhm.
no non-violent way to be romantic. But it also is there's like American people parading their most oppressed people for the comfort of other nations who are experiencing oppression, which is a very
Mhm.
Christian idea. Jesus comes because he comes to save those who are least, like most vulnerable. He comes to relieve the people who have the most, social stress or political stress because he loves everybody and everything. So America's like, oh, look at our women. They could wear short skirts and kiss men on TV. Look at how great we are. And look at our black people. We can give them civil rights. Look at how
Yeah.
great we are. This is which
Mhm.
is a big point because when we talk about like African nations being built and the civil rights movement goes hand in hand. But it's just
Right.
America is always parading like these ideas and this media to get people like really engulfed in what it means to be American. And
Mhm.
when Gian is like talking to them, do y'all know Judy? And they like, well, how would we even know her? You don't even, I mean, we don't even live in that world. Like there's no whatever America is parading around is great and good and positive and some sense of a model for other nations when they didn't have no political, they really didn't have nothing really going on over here. but neither here nor there.
Right.
It's just like it's mind blowing. And it's just like the more you get wrapped up into that ideal of what America can be, it's just like you said, it just makes you more attractive and makes you more able to exist in our world as attractive. And that's what that's what Atticus falls for, because when she started talking about the book and how she knows this book, and he's like the first person who doesn't criticize her for that, you know. But it's interesting. And
For
then
sure.
violent. It's just violent because
Romance violence. Romance violence.
it really is. Because you're thinking about like I was thinking about like how she models her idea of romance based off of the movies that she see. But think about the movies that those are. I've never seen any of those movies, but I can imagine the girl is sad.
Right.
She is poor.
Prolonged from love.
Some man come and make her life so much better, so much grander, so much beautiful, so much more beautiful. She's singing and she's expressing in ways that she could not before because this romance has been brought into her life by this man.
Mhm.
Atticus is a freaking soldier who killed her her colleagues and her best friend,
Right.
and somehow she falls in love with him.
Right. So
So,
yeah, that's definitely Americanized.
and to us, this is more romantic than him and Letty's relationship.
Right.
More romantic than Sammy's and Montrose relationship. To us, this is our in our
And
mind.
even right, it is even like presented to us that way. Of course, especially with the sex scene being, I feel like the most intimate of sex scenes that has happened. You know,
Anger, no violence.
right,
Well, not no violence, but no
right,
anger.
right. Until the Camijo wants a piece. No, but
But yeah,
yeah.
this is
Um,
how our model of romance is really just built on saving somebody,
mhm,
like specifically saving a woman, specifically
mhm,
ripping her from her surroundings, telling her how bad her life was before, telling her how bad the people are in her life, how abusive they are. Cinderella, Snow White, Rapunzel. I mean, it's just never a situation where there's power involved in romance, specifically with
mhm.
men.
Right. And to me, like it's always intersected with whiteness in ways that's very complex throughout all the episodes, especially with the last one and Ruby. Ruby and her skin meat suit that we gruesomely see the blood and just the decaying flesh fall off of her, and I feel like this is all a commentary on what whiteness is and how it's operating and how people are otherized by whiteness, just like I want to say, I don't know exactly, I don't know if it was a Japanese soldier, whoever the soldier that brought JR to the tent.
Yeah, I think he was Korean. I think
Korean, okay. But he was saying, like, in America, like, I would still be, downtrodden, cast out, and racialized in horrible ways. So it's definitely different. So he was, like, hinting at how white supremacy is operating. But I still feel like every episode is talking about that, obviously in ways that positions blackness a little bit weirdly for me. Like I feel like the Ruby thing was just so weird. Or I guess I'm questioning exactly why she wanted to be the white woman. Well, obviously she wanted to be the white woman to, I don't know, to see what it is, but still she was who she was, and just because she was in a white suit doesn't mean she changed herself. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out in my head. You had some things to say about the ruby skin decaying things.
I just when I read it in the book, I was like, okay, why?
Right.
I just it was just literally like I don't understand why this is happening. But it was interesting to read like her grappling with what that looks like. I liked in the text that she would there was very distinctly two different people. There was a Hillary and then there's Ruby, and those are two different people. And they exist in her mind and her world as very different people. Um, I still don't get like why, but when I was listening to the podcast, the official one, they talk about like all the ways we kind of put on whiteness to survive, and that's very real. I mean, honestly, look at us speaking English.
Yeah.
Look at us, wearing pearl. I mean, was looking trying to fit into whatever idea it is of American white beauty.
Right. Americanness is essentially, whiteness, but go ahead.
Code switching is another way. Professionalism is another way.
Mhm.
Respectability politics are these all these different ways that we really
Diversity.
put on whiteness to just survive, to literally survive. And I can get that. I mean, I understand that. I would never want to be white.
Right.
That's not an that's does not
That part.
that does not interest me.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I feel like for
Yeah, I'm
Ruby,
sure I've probably been white in past lives, but now in this life,
in this one, I knew it was up.
in the here and the now.
And then here, okay. I said, I'm not doing that again.
We've come up to heaven. No I'm kidding.
Yeah, at this point. But it's just like Ruby's thing. I feel like Ruby's thing was, I don't know. Like I feel like being an American person, you get really trapped. And we're talking about McCarthyism. So there's like this very, very hard pressure to solidify what it means to be American and to solidify your allegiance to America. So there's a lot of pressure for everybody to figure out what it means to be American, align yourself with those things, or you will die. This
Right.
this is not even churches who are too communist or too progressive in that way shut down. Like I mean, like literally things had to get order had to be established so that Christianity goes up and all those other things that we align with American culture has going up during this time. So there's a lot of pressure, and I feel like Rudy's like figuring out what does that pressure mean for her. How does she
Mhm.
exist in this world? How does she advance herself in the world that says that there's an American dream, that there's
Mhm.
things that you can gain through hard work, and she chooses. I mean, and I like in the movie more that she is kind of forced into this white skin before she like chooses it, because in the book she kind of chooses it a little bit even though she was drunk, but in the film it's just like she wakes up in it and she exists in it and she realizes, oh, this could give me something. I don't know
Right.
what's going on, but it could give me a little bit of something.
It's more natural, I guess. Well, like, oh, I'm surprised that I'm in the skin, but now let me, work with the material that I have around me, kind of thing.
Right, and then she slowly gets addicted to it like a drug addict. um
Mhm.
and it just seems very interesting to see her exist in this white body and to see how her philosophies as a white bodied a white skinned person.
White-bodied black woman.
You're gonna be giving the people too much. They're gonna be like, oh, I got Ruby inside of me. You don't. Okay.
Yeah, right. Not another identity.
This is what it looks like. If you got a Ruby inside of you, okay, this is what you can think of as Lovecraft Country. Okay. Just fight you. But
Exactly.
it's so interesting to see her like her philosophies as this white person because it come off as very, very harsh.
Hmm.
And to some extent she is being petty, but I mean those philosophies I think she always had, like you gotta work hard and
Yeah.
there. And with that power in her skin color, she uses it and really abuses it because why not?
Whiteness is abuse.
I said that again to make Tamara a better person. So,
Right, right,
so
right.
philosophies as a white person come off harsh and they
Mhm,
don't work
mhm,
because we know they don't work. Then what are
right,
we doing? So why are we thinking the same way? Why are we thinking that hard work and all this stuff will pay off when in reality we see it play out all the time that it
mhm.
does.
It's just like whooping your child, I guess, or how people connect it to slavery and how this enslaved mamas beat their children so they can prepare to be beaten by the slave masters. Just like, how does that make sense? I mean, I guess it makes sense in that time. I'm not like, you know, bashing the people who did it, but like the problem isn't that my child isn't prepared to be beaten. The problem is that there's a beater, right? That there's someone beating me. So I don't know exactly how. I mean, obviously, you can't just they couldn't just go up and kill the beaters and the whippers and things of that nature, but um, just the idea of going through pain twice, or I feel like that's a very churchy, especially black churchy, but definitely Christian idea as well, that you're going to get your rewards after you die. So that basically means that they can do what, I mean, they can make up whatever they want to on this side of heaven um, until they pass away. Like obviously, pay your tithes, go work hard. Will lead you to a early death, unfortunately.
Yes. I don't understand because it's just like literally the Bible. Jesus' daddy is the one that kills him.
Right. And we're wearing the execution chamber on our necks and like
Oh, it's crazy because we just feel like suffering is the way. Suffering is gonna get us there. Like suffering is gonna make it happen for us. And I just feel like even though Atticus doesn't intentionally choose to suffer because his daddy is abusive, that's not a choice.
right, right.
He goes to the war. I mean,
He was running from his daddy,
not
right, to
the
go
problem to
to
the war, so he didn't imagine that that would be a choice, but just like the idea that somehow he needs to suffer so he continues to wander and to leave people that he loves and to not create like strong foundations. Even Montrose is like that, like choosing to suffer in this way to protect your family from more pain or more disappointment. It's very interesting theme to see. And in the
hmm
movie is like I will work as hard as I need to for as long as I need to get where I'm trying to go, which is like not an intentional choice of suffering, but like the nobility in suffering. Because even when she turns white, it's not like I'm gonna just be white. No, I'm
right,
gonna be white and I'm gonna work.
right. I'm white to work. I'm white to be a part of this Americanized version of what I should be, or this Americanized version that gives me mobility to move how I want to move. Yeah, it really is all about, not all about, but I feel like shape shifting was in this episode and the last one, right? In the fifth and sixth ones. And the shape shifting did something differently. And when it came to like overthrowing the oppression, like obviously the Camijo was overthrowing the oppression of maleness, but also Ruby was overthrowing or kind of challenging the oppression of whiteness. Because I feel like maybe she couldn't even talk to what's her name, the other black woman,
Oh, Tamara.
Tamara. She couldn't even talk to Tamara. Um, like that if she was in as Ruby, I guess it would have been different, but she maybe felt the rush of being a white woman and being in this position to correct or challenge another black woman as she's been challenged throughout this whole situation. Because I was saying it was jealousy at first, right? Because Tamara got the job, whereas Ruby maybe with her blackness and her body size. So body is, a central element to Ruby's transformation, maybe. But
Right.
maybe with her blackness and her body size, she couldn't get this, or her blackness and her color, even though Tamara was still, brown skinned. But
They purposely chose a dark skinned person.
right, right. hmm So that's why I was surprised when Jordan, was hitting on her, but it makes sense now. But I was surprised that Ruby fell for it, but I guess she was a little drunk and tipsy
Mhm.
where she, was just like, "Oh, this white man wants me," kind of thing. So,
Oh, you talking about William?
yeah, William, not Jordan. Sorry, who
I'm
is
these
Jordan?
people names. Yeah, it's interesting. It's
Right.
I thought
Mhm.
that I thought that it was interesting to see, like, I don't know. I guess the racism play out even really, because it's just like I don't know what they were trying to tell us, but
Mm-hmm.
um racism is given power,
Right.
and that power comes from being white.
Period.
I know it's Ruby, but still.
Right. Hmm. And then Montrose and his queer scene, where he uses spit to roughly rough up a gentleman or a person. um, I just feel like I wanted to mention that earlier, that this dichotomy of romance and violence and how it's together, right? So, and I feel like anything that's otherwise, like Montrose black as fuck, and he happens to be queer and he's doing this rough stuff. So I just feel like there's a skin tone element to that makes that queer rough thing so, what is it I'm trying to say, like glorified, or like this is what it is, this is what queerness is, when it could have just been more simple. It could have at least had some lube, or like, is the other guy clean? Like, you can't just you can't just
Like you
pop up and do that for the men.
and it was no nothing, and it's just like you can't tell everybody's story the
Was
same.
prepared.
You can't tell everybody's story the same.
Right.
You have to put elements of the reality of the story in the story.
Right. And that's what we said about the voodoo lady or whoever she was. Like, there are people who are living these real life experiences. There are two-spirited people, there are queer people. Like, I don't know. Like, I know the writers and stuff are trying to stay close to the narrative, right? The Lovecraft narrative, but still at the same time, there's creative changes already. So,
Right.
like, which creative changes, how did you make those, and how did these creative changes pass through but maybe others didn't? So,
Yeah, like I would love to, like I'm loving listening to the podcast and just listening to like what the writers were thinking, the debates that went on and things like that. And like how do you choose what's the most valuable part of the story? Is the most valuable part of the story is to see these men engage in consensual sex? Or is the most valuable part of the story knowing that these people are in a relationship and there are other things that we have to be considered before they engage in consensual sex?
yeah,
So it's like, what's more valuable? Just seeing it? Is it just enough to see it? Is it, or is it more to know that there is relationship involved? There is practices involved. There is really, strategic things that are involved in this relationship. It's not just how we imagine relationship or how we've been engineered to understand relationship. So it's like, what's
sure.
the valuable part?
Because it definitely was just kind of like a surprise pop up, like, oh, kind of thing. And I definitely wasn't ready. I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't even know, that would happen. But then I think episode 4 kind of hinted at it, where like someone told
Yeah,
Atticus,
Atticus.
what now?
Tree told Atticus.
Right. So we kind of knew that it was coming, but we didn't know it was coming like that.
Okay, this is what I think. I feel like Atticus had to already have known. Not that
Mm,
everybody know, but Atticus, because Atticus introduction, our introduction to Sammy was him engaging in oral sex in the alley.
right, right.
I mean, of all places, stressful. But anyway,
Right.
so that's our introduction to Sammy. Atticus seems like he kind of already knows what's going on here. I'm sure people kind of already knew because this is a black community. I mean, what secrets do you really have?
Right.
Um, So I just feel like I don't know if is the shame that Atticus, because there's a shift in shame for Atticus, and is that shame because everybody else knows because it's just a new truth that is being revealed to him,
Mhm.
and I personally think it's because other people know a truth about his father that he might not be comfortable.
Right. And there was definitely like a questioning of whether Montrose was even Atticus's daddy. So I'm trying to see if this like queerness is the thing that really answers that question, or if they're trying to do it like that. Because he could be, bisexual or pansexual or, something else on the spectrum, and not just, oh, I need to have anal raw and dry. Yeah.
I feel like we know. I mean, we know the stories. We existed in a black community, so we understand how it how it plays out in various, identities. So I just
Mhm.
feel like I hope this is not a oh,
Mhm.
just like a blanket answer to a question when the
Right.
question is just much more complex than that. Now, who's to
Right.
say that Montrose didn't love Atticus's mother?
True.
He loved
Exactly.
her enough
Hmm. For
to
sure.
exist in the world with her.
Right.
So we'll see what the answer to that is. But and like
Right.
it's just and I'm hoping that it's more complex because it can be this already confusing.
Right. We need some answers, please. Right now. Mhm.
And you have George going off being like loving his wife, and we just don't get to enjoy that because now he's in love with some other person, and he chooses to live in heaven with her.
Right. She was beckoning him.
Or
Stay
because
back.
his wife. So I guess he can love them both the same and have multiple lovers of his life. They can be in heaven, all three of them together.
Rocking in heaven.
Well, yeah, it was, we're interested to see like what comes of these narratives, and hopefully they'll get more, even better treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it also, I'm just thinking of things that I wanted to say earlier too about Atticus being a transport. Because I said that because didn't Christina say something about Atticus being a Trojan horse? Being a Trojan horse to kill her father or something like that. Or someone said he was used as a Trojan horse to kill.
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
book, especially, because in the book, Caleb gave him the language to kill everybody.
Right, 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 right. So again, that transport, that carrier, that he really is. I'm wondering. I always like to do this. What signs would they be? um, but I think Atticus would definitely be. I don't know, something mutable, something that's transporting all the time, maybe. But I don't know. I was
He's
thinking.
a
I
lot.
want to say Sag,
Yeah,
but
I was
not.
just gonna say that
Yeah,
because he's a like Sagittarius because he loved
yeah.
went to Korea. Sagittarius.
Uh, yeah, the long distance is there, and then the like seeking knowledge,
Right.
trying to really understand this language and really put it into action is there. And I mean, it's not like he's sexual, but still, that's a part of Sag identity. But it's more like it's more like fleeting, like you can fleeting sex, or like it's
Yeah.
not it's not grounded, but so.
Yeah. Like I'm a man of this world.
Hmm.
Sex is a thing that men experience in this world. And who can
Right.
I everybody?
The world is my oyster.
Right. I was gonna say he was a Pisces, but he too active to be a Pisces because if he was a Pisces, he would still be in his daddy house or in Florida somewhere. He would
Not
never
a
be back. Like
right, right.
that would have been
Yeah,
interesting.
he's too directional for Pisces.
Yeah, he just got too much.
Right. I feel like Letty is also fiery too, though. I
Yeah,
don't know, but maybe she's. I don't know about Cancer. I guess I'm saying Cancer because she wanted to build a home for people.
yeah, but that was
But
also selfish. So I would say Aries.
true, true. It is selfish, which is a Cancerian.
Or that, okay.
Manipulation is a Cancerian trait.
I would say Aries because she's
Yeah, I was gonna say Aries because she's so pop
so
off. Hmm.
just quick with the anger, quick with the action. baseball bats all the time, protecting herself, quick,
Right.
very juvenile. Very, I mean,
About the self. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and I feel like she is very much a leader. Like in everything she does, she's like the leader. I'm about to drive this car away. I'm about to do this thing. I'm about to get this spiritual person to come in here. Like I'm about to do.
Right. We didn't even know she was called the voodoo lady. Just,
No warning. No warning. Just came
right.
and
Just popped up and did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely a leader in that.
Hmm. For sure. But I mean, those are the two main ones that we've interacted with that could pull. But maybe Ruby. I don't know. I would say Taurus for Ruby, but I always think,
Because of the luxury and the hard
yeah,
work and the martyrdom and this like
and sensuality.
the attitude and the violent reactions to things.
Hmm.
I guess just her whole scene with the shoes and the man and the manager or whatever.
Right.
Just very like you know,
Hmm. For sure.
very bull like. Christina is a sneaky sign. She probably like a
Right.
Libra or something.
I was gonna say Virgo, so pretty close to Libra. But yeah, definitely something that's two-faced.
So either a Gemini or a Libra. No,
Right.
I feel like Gemini.
Gemini, Virgo, Libra, because I feel like Virgo is mercurial too, just like Gemini. So they just do it in more, neat and neater ways. But I don't know if she's neat with hers or not. But
I will take Virgo. We'll take Virgo because that house is clean. That basement is locked.
right,
And she keeps the two identities separate
right,
until she
exactly.
wants to reveal it to you. And she tells you
Mhm.
about yourself in a very
That's
rude
what
way.
Virgos really do when they want to reveal it. They reveal it.
Just being rude for no reason. But
Right. Hmm.
so yeah, she's definitely a Virgo. So it's interesting to see
Yes.
what happens with that.
Right.
Who else is there? Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta is an explorer.
Hmm.
And it's just like a quiet sadness. But she's
Hmm.
very obedient.
Hmm.
Very obedient.
Obedient is an interesting word.
hmm Because
Yeah.
she doesn't.
Because I was gonna say Aquarius, but they're not really obedient. But I guess I was thinking about the vastness that she represents or will represent, hopefully in the next episode.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
she is Aquarius. She just has a rising sign of.
Right.
No, but she couldn't be Aquarius. It doesn't matter what your rising sign is.
True. Like Aquarius really shines through no matter what.
So maybe she like I don't know.
Oh no.
Can't pin you down, Hippolyta. We'll find out next.
Gemini. I don't know.
Yeah, lover of knowledge. Love
Yeah.
of knowledge.
Bookish for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And she's just like very, very, very much into information. Um, technology. She loves technology. Great communicator.
Hmm.
So I can take Gem. I'll take Gemini
Right.
because I feel like once she finds her.
Definitely more airy than anything.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because she's trying to find out where to go and what it is. She's trying to find direction.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
what Airtines do.
She gets it and she just goes crazy.
Yes.
But it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see what they
And
do.
Uncle George. I mean, no. Well, let's do Montrose. I don't know. He's a Pisces, I
Yeah, mine
think.
definitely a Pisces. He is a Pisces.
Yeah.
Okay, don't want nobody else to know what he knows.
I get
Self
mad.
outy,
Right.
quiet,
Now be quiet is equals Pisces.
violent,
Right.
just a drug addict, a drunkard.
Want that fix.
Mhm.
For
It's
sure.
sexually just into it, just like he is all things intangible.
He is.
All things intangible. And a lover of an intelligent person,
Hmm.
a selfishly intelligent person.
Hmm. You know what Pisces
I
is because
know a
what
Pisces.
Pisces rising. So yeah, I was like, yeah, that's all right. Yeah,
I was thinking to myself, hallelujah, Lord God, it's fine. It's fine. God is still working on me. Okay. It's still working.
Everything I said about Virgo, that's me with my Virgo rising. So
Yeah,
It's gonna be a neat chaos, but chaotic indeed, but neat as hell.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, yeah, I definitely see him as a Pisces, just like in the directionless. Okay, direct.
Right, right.
Hopefully, he'll come into his own. 'Cause that's
Hmm.
bad. I mean, we trash
That's
talk.
what we hope for all Pisces.
Some people don't get there, but it's all right. And that's why he wanted to die. He was like, Atticus can kill me. I don't care.
Right,
Oh, that's a Pisces.
right.
Yeah. And I love to talk about the role of white women in the film. And here we go again. The role of white women is to spread the culture and to enforce the dynamic of Americanisms into
Mm.
anybody's community, both violently and untouchably.
Yes.
How you gonna fight a TV?
Right.
Nothing. But it's just like to just inflict whatever the beauty standards are, inflict whatever the singing standards are,
Mm.
to just come in and just tell you and to tell on you. Like, are you being American enough? Are you engulfed in what I'm doing enough?
Mm.
Love like I love. Do you understand love like I love? Because that's the thing that's like Americanized about the sixth episode too, because it's just like you do you love like I love?
Mm.
I feel like my mom is an immigrant from Zambia. She's always telling me like we just don't understand. I don't understand it like that. I don't see it like that. And I cannot see what she's talking about when she says I don't see it like that because she really has a different culture and there are different values and there are different ways of being that I just would never understand because I didn't grow up in Zambia in the 1960s and 70s.
Right.
It's like this idea of like needing love in that way or needing validation for love in that way is a very Americanized
Mm.
idea.
Right. Yeah, and even I mean, I guess the mom wanted safety in ways that could be read as Americanized, or feel like white women all kind of like want that. Is just like their safety, their land, their security, and they're the ones that are pushing that, telling the white man kind of what to do, or just like Christina was the brother. What's her brother's name again?
I think his name is William, but I don't think that's her brother.
William.
Well, I don't know. In the show, it could be a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thought it was her brother. Okay, but yeah, Christine being William. So again, like the white woman controlling the white man and how he moves and things in society. So yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's interesting because even in the second episode, there are the women that are kind of like, "Ooh, dance like the black people. Let's go to the
Right.
town."
Let's go to the South part.
Just investigating and then coming into that black space and dominating it. Like
Hmm.
literally dancing with all the men when literally in the street. That day before, a little boy almost lost his life because he bumped into her. And they can come in here and they grind up on anybody they want to and go about their business. And don't catch me in the street or I will get you arrested. So
A
it's just
mess.
it's just like literally playing the field. Not that to say that they have more power than white men in our society, because we know that's not true. But we have to understand that white women do play a huge role in
Hmm.
uplifting white supremacy. And white supremacy, if you think about it in a Southern context, is dependent on white womanhood. Literally, it's dependent on protecting white women from being contaminated by outside culture.
Right.
There is control over white women's identities. They have to be womanly, Southern belles. They have to speak a certain way, dress a certain way, wear the stockings, cover the hair, do all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of control inflicted on white women, but then there's a lot of control that white women have where it's like I cannot be touched by these people. I cannot engage with these people in a certain way. I'm going to minister my way of living to everybody else because my way is the right way.
Right.
My way is equal and above any man or woman or person in any other culture.
Right.
And you see that with the woman who looks outside the window. You see that with Hillary's identity. We see that with Christina. We see that with
Hmm.
Julie Garland as a character.
Hmm.
We see that with, I forgot who the white women were in the fourth episode, but we kind of see that play out in all of the episodes. It's very
Hmm.
Very, very. It's very subtle, but very, very powerful.
Right, for sure. And definitely how gosh, what I was gonna say, Christina plays a part in, like, I don't know if Christina even does she even react when her father dies. Like, I don't know if she
Because she wasn't there. We just see her in the end of the
right,
episode.
right in the next episode where she's doing something or she gave Letty the money or something like that. But I'm just like, that's so detached for me, to, I mean, maybe it's she's okay with it. I mean, I don't know.
I think she killed her. I mean, in the well, in the text,
Mhm.
what happens? I think she is definitely designed the death of her father, so she don't care.
Right, right, right. So she
Like,
kind of
whatever.
again, she's a Virgo. Planned it on the low. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
to see just
right.
how much our love for whiteness is just ingrained in us so heavily.
It is
It's just like something we
so
can't
heavy.
separate from our identities.
Right.
Even like my mom, because they were singing Besame Mucho, which is a song that was popularized by, I don't know, let me not even lie to you, but popularized in America,
Right.
and it kind of just spread throughout the world.
Hmm.
Um, whether it was intended for American audience or not, I'm not really sure, but I know that my mama know that song. So
Hmm.
just like this American culture just seeps through everything. Like my mom loves Andy Griffin. It's other white MASH. She loved watching MASH and Zambi. So it's like all these American like white characters that we love to see on TV have really taught us a love for whiteness that is damaging.
Right. And that is, nostalgic almost to what America wants to be again, or reactionary identities of what America once was, aka oppressors of anybody who isn't white male landowners in that way. Um, yeah.
It's something else. I'm telling you, the belief in America that Atticus has is something else. And
Right.
like you can't survive unless you believe in it. Because literally I'm dying on the inside because people have decided that sleeping in your bed is not enough, and dying is not enough to convict somebody of murder. That kills me on the inside. So what do I don't have no choices.
Right.
Gotta I have to vote. I have to believe that something's going to happen differently, or I will
Right.
not survive. You literally will have to. You cannot exist. You cannot exist because it's polarizing, or just like this plurality of American identity, especially as a person who was oppressed by the culture.
Mhm.
We don't understand. It's not map outable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's no clear way, and it's just hard to process in your mind that, I mean, the country that you have to honor really hates you.
Right. Have to, or forced to honor, murdering us daily, and then we can't do anything about it. I mean, it just affirms powerlessness in that way, that wants to make us powerless in ways. So yeah.
Yeah, but this show gives me a lot of power. I really want to see some African American mythology. Like, where is it? I love seeing the Kimoho. I love seeing.
Right. I did like, I was just thinking about that, how everything, I mean, there is, Chicago and the local, but there is a lot of, like adventure, especially with the fourth episode is very, Indiana Jones. And then this one's in Korea. So like
Yeah,
we is definitely, there's, elements of culture that are great, and I'm glad that these are black centered stories too. But still, I guess it could show, you know our folklore a little bit more. I mean, I guess it tried to with the voodoo lady, or the voodoo lady, whoever she was or whatever she practiced. But still, that it could be definitely more.
yeah, and I feel like she was even othered herself because she had an accent from a different culture. So it wasn't like she was really. I mean, she could have been American. She
Uh,
definitely could have been American. It's very much possible. But it just, I feel like they really other her with that accent
mhm,
and with the attire, which was from a culture we don't know. I mean, it could
mhm.
whatever. So they kind of other her a little bit.
Right, 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 for
There are
sure.
people in the culture that do this work. There are
Right,
people that's ingrained in it. I think it would have been equally as powerful for her to have a Chicago accent like the rest of us.
right,
And be like,
mhm.
hey, y'all, come on, let's do this. We're finna, do whatever we got to do.
Right.
So it's just like, I'm waiting for it. I just really want to see it. Like, what is African American that is like spooky? We know it. We already know the secret.
We live it.
We live it. Honestly, I just want to see it. But then
Exactly.
I don't know. And then I don't know. It might hurt us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you like, I mean, not obviously, but every time it's on screen, it is sensationalized and kind of warped. So maybe they're saving us from misrepresentation. But I mean, like, just voodoo in American Horror Story season 3.
Mhm.
Um, that was misrepresented in a lot of ways. So again, every time this pops up, so there's really no. I guess they're just not paying real people, or they just don't know people who are really into it. And maybe it's a class thing. I don't know what it is, but
Who knows?
yeah,
But
it's a
I
mess.
definitely want to see more Africa, more African influence. Just like because if we're talking about the 1950s, you can't not talk about Africa.
Right.
You're talking about the global scene. You can't
Mm.
talk about Africa because Africa plays a big part into like what we imagine Black lives can look like and be like. I mean, the U.S. is by 1955. I don't know if they're putting out people yet, but they are definitely engaging African Americans to go explore the world so they can
Right.
conquer more land. So, of course, I would love to see what that looks like. I just want
Yeah.
to see more black.
For us lowly Negro. I'm kidding.
Oh, let's talk about superstitions. Okay, so what could we imagine could be like black folklore?
Oh, I mean, I feel like well, the South is just different, but every state is different when it comes to folklore and things like that. But I don't know. I feel like the haunts, the blue haunts. I
Mm.
believe that's in South Carolina or Georgia. Um, or like people they like take off your skin or something, or and then put on this. So I feel like that could be easily translated into this with the shape shifting that's already happening, and um other things with the water. I feel like there are Simbi spirits, but Simbi spirits are like water spirits or spirits of location, that come from South Carolina, Carolinian folklore, I believe. And then there's a wealth of things that could come from Louisiana that would probably be mixed with Haitian things, but still Americanized in ways. But when I think of American folklore, I think of hoodoo in particular, which would be kind of like the spirits, the Simbis, the haunts, spitting on a broom, going to the crossroads, engaging with the devil in that way.
Salt.
Um, yeah, the salt,
Mhm.
salt, throwing it over, spitting on a broom was what I already said. And, like every time Charlie steps on my back, he puts an X on it. So I don't know where that comes from, but um,
Cooking
yeah,
fish on certain days.
right.
Friday fish day is like a very specific thing. Soul
New
food,
Year's meals.
New Year's meal, soul food, period.
Hmm.
Very, very thing. Altars with people's pictures
Yeah,
and
ancestors. Hmm.
family prayer books. I mean the Bible with the family tree in it.
Yeah.
Very,
Hmm.
very sacred symbols.
Right.
Beauty. I mean Christianity has to come in there because we be doing stuff that don't make no sense.
I mean, with cold Christianity was definitely co-opted, to, I guess, help us
Yeah, completely.
express African spirituality. Yeah.
Shouting. I would love to see shouting, what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Casting out
Speaking in tongues.
yes. Casting out demons, speaking in, yeah, like you said, speaking in tongues. That's a very, very specific to our cultural practices.
Right.
I think they could all work well.
Baptism,
Which they,
going to the river, baptism and going to the river for sure. Wearing white, like that's an old practice. Wearing all white to go to the river to be baptized.
right.
Yeah,
Okay. That's we got to do some research.
we should.
I'm sure you already do that.
Well, again, I mean, I could definitely learn more, especially about the folklore stuff, because I'm trying to do other things, I guess, with hoodoo. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to see it. I would love to see that.
Mhm. We'd love to see it.
I would love to see it in Africa. Somewhere specific.
Yes, for sure.
Somewhere specific. Like, Ghana, Zambia.
Right.
Hang out with them.
All of the places you're from.
Experience our trauma. Come experience our traumas.
Right. Because, I mean, they're connected in various ways.
Yeah. Which is what I appreciate about the show. It's like very global.
Right, it is global.
Part of Black culture.
Global trauma.
We're international beings.
But they overlap. But go
Okay,
ahead.
this is the song I know. Proverbs 4, 5, and 6. In the Lord with all your heart and lean not. Whoo! Understanding in all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight.
Yeah, says that from Vacation Bible School.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
Whose path did he not make straight in these episodes?
Ah, right.
I'm drinking more water than I normally drink, so
That's great. Something I need to do.
acting like it's never seen skin before. You know what bacteria is? I wash you, and you still treat me like this. God. And I think it's the mask, honestly.
Mm.
Like this type of mask is breaking my skin all the way out.
It might be because the bacteria, I guess, just sits, you know.
Ugh. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Astro South. My name is Cristobalito. My alter ego. No, I'm kidding.
Come out.
Like, come out right now.
She needed to have the Holy Ghost come upon her. Get
Right.
Kumiho out.
Not the Holy Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy One of Israel. Okay. Okay.